Hello, internet friends, and welcome to episode number 187 of Final Boss TV. It's been a little while since I did one of these because I've been a little busy. If you haven't known, I've been hiding under a rock on the internet potentially. So you should probably go over and check out what I have been working on recently. There are 10 installments of the Crucible of Storms talk show that is now being archived over on Method's YouTube channel. Or you, of course, can go to twitch.tv/Method. Any of the ones that, day 7, day 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and there are still 3 more they are going to be getting up there. Those are where I have been. I produced the Crucible of Storms post-raid talk show following the entirety of the Crucible of Storms raid progression, so go check that out. And of course, the Sunday before last Sunday was Easter, so that's why there was no show on Easter, because it's a heckin' holiday or something. But that is where I have been. You can go check out all those shows if you want some extra of this face pushing buttons on the internet. That exists. But of course, I would also not be here if it wasn't for these lovely nerds and ladies. I have to extend my appreciation for supporting the show, the stream, and everything in between with my patrons over on the show's Patreon page. Thank you very much for all of your support, because otherwise this would be a much less production-filled production if it wasn't for you. And of course, if you want more of the show, there is more of the show over on the Patreon page. You can go follow along with the behind-the-scenes show notes, and there are all the BTS podcasts as well. There'll be a little sit-down today, even with the Mistweavers after the show is over. And you can go plug those into your RSS feed and take those with you wherever you go on your mobile device or whatnot, and listen to some more of the show. And of course, the audio-only versions of the show go up on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play Music. Just search Final Boss TV on wherever you listen to podcasts. Just not SoundCloud. Don't do that. But today is about Mistweaver Monks. And we are going to be, with the first healer show today, welcoming back some old guard, I suppose, still off camera. Dhaubbs, welcome back to the show, sir.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So you're two giant dragons right now, but you're the same. You told me you're the same transmog in game. Is that correct?
Whoa. I'm the same character race.
Uh-oh.
Pranked.
Uh-oh. So you're still not using your bell staff,
I'm quickly logging in right now, actually.
Yeah. Yep, make sure. But however, bringing some of the production value today and on camera and repping that peak of serenity, Anomoly, welcome to the show, sir. Hello.
Thank you. Hello, how are you guys?
I'm ready to do this. Are you ready to carry the show because Dhaubbs is a horrible person?
I mean, we told him to get a webcam 2 years ago.
Come on, man.
48 months. Ugh.
Listen, I never have an occasion to get one.
That's fair.
Except the yearly installment of my show.
Point, and every time I remember too late,
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah, sorry. I misspoke. Mistweaver show. Sorry. Yeah, my bad. Second best healer spec, not Discipline Priest. Oh, chat. Oh, chat. Uh-oh. Chat wants you to take off your hat, Anomoly. Is that a thing?
It's not a thing. I'm gonna keep that on.
That's the
Might be a little glare
No.
in the camera if I take that off.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
That's unfortunate. But we have to take a little trip back in time or something along those lines. To sort of, who the heck are you guys? Dhaubbs, you're back up first. Who the heck are you? What do you dabble in the world of Warcraft? How long have you been part of said dabbling? And if you need to do any opening show shout outs to resources and awesome things, this is your time to do so. If you forget about anything right now, then the Discord will flog you.
Yeah, get ready to at me in Discord. So I'm Dhaubbs. I've been playing this game since its release in 2004. I've been healing since 2007, and been playing Mistweaver since Warlords. I founded Big Dumb Guild in. Oh my God, they're adding me. Stop adding me.
I think I heard the bloop in the background. It's good.
So I founded Big Dumb Guild, in which I heal, obviously. We try to push competitive ranks, and I also write the guide for Mistweaver on Icy Veins.
Ooh.
Also, shout out to my boy Onion in Peak.
Just one shout out, just to Onion.
Yep, just one. The rest come at the end of the show.
Fair enough. I like it. Anomoly, how about you, sir?
Yeah, I mean, I'm Anomoly. I've been playing similar to Dhaubbs since, I guess, the winter of 04. I got the game for Christmas. I've been healing since MOP, really. I started actually healing on a monk, which is funny. And I played the monk pretty much as my main since then. So dabbled a little in Paladin, but mostly just monk since then. So playing with decidedly uncouth. We are a sweet guild. We don't push content like Dhaubbs does. We try and get US top 100. That's the goal. But yeah, been doing that for a while now. Resources wise, I guess I built, not built, but I guess I contributed to WoW Analyzer for Mistweaver. So kind of did a lot of the initial groundwork for that back in Legion. Have a little bit of help now. And yeah, I've been doing that for a while. And then I just recently took over, I guess, the Peak stuff, peakofserenity.com from Garg. So yeah, I've been trying to keep that updated. That's been a struggle since I'm a terrible writer. But yeah, the WoW Analyzer thing, I think, is a big thing from my side that people will probably recognize.
WoW Analyzer has. I'm not giving you this moment. Nope, not tapping back over to chat. Nope. WoW Analyzer has come a long way. I know we first talked about WoW Analyzer, I want to say on a Legion show. I don't think it was a Mr. Pandaria thing. That it was like, or no, sorry, Mr. Pandaria, I think a Warlords of Draenor thing. I'm pretty sure it was a Legion discussion. But I mean, the graphics and the cast sequences and all the information you can get there. Is WoW Analyzer still predominantly healers, right?
Yeah, I mean, they have DPS specs too, in various stages. I think some of the tank specs are actually really good too. Like,
Ooh, okay.
like actually the Brewmaster one's really solid. But yeah, I mean, we have a little bit of everything. It's all community driven. So if like your spec isn't supported, like I think for Ube, like enhancement and elemental are kind of lagging behind right now. But yeah, if your spec supported, it's actually really good. And yeah, we just did an overhaul to, I guess, 3.0, which is like the yellow icons, like a month or two ago. So yeah, it's been a wild ride, to be honest with you.
It is just
how
one of
much
those,
work.
Yeah, it's one of those extra resources that players can take advantage of. But I know it definitely came from and was curated first for healers.
Yeah, I mean, Zero to the rescue from the like Holy Paladin community built the original one for just Holy Paladins, and then I think Blazy added Druids, and then I added Mistweaver shortly after that, in like about 3 years ago in March timeframe. So been about 3 years since it's been around. So Mistweaver, it's been fun working on that stuff. Luckily, Mistweaver is not complicated, so like I can actually add things, but not Disc Priest. I'll tell you that. It's a difficult thing to analyze, I'll say.
You also gave the shout out over to Peak of Serenity, and this goes part and parcel with some of the specs and classes. We all have the class discords, but not everyone has an extra, like, I guess, database of articles and sort of where things are congealed. But Peak of Serenity is one of those places. So if you want more information direct from, I think, where it all gets funneled, beyond, of course, like the Wowhead and the Icy Veins guides, then you have another resource here in peakofserenity.com. Who runs most of the, you said you were writing a handful of what's happening here, but who else is sort of with you in doing Peak? Is it just you?
It's just me.
Oh gosh, just for Mistweaver though, right?
Just for Mistweaver, yeah. I mean, I think we kind of lost, like Garg was like the big push for a lot of this stuff, and he kind of went to real life land. Unfortunately, we're missing him. So he was a huge push for a lot of this. So I'm trying to pick up the slack, but he's a huge void, at least in the site right now. So we're slowly trying to get better about that, but yeah.
Yeah, Garg was on for the Legion show, and that's actually because I was actually really surprised. Anomaly opened when I'm not putting it on blast. I'm just giving the shout out where it's needed. So he went back and listened to. Did you listen to both the Legion and the Warlords and the Mop show, or just like the Legion show?
So I listened to Legion and Warlords.
Oh, okay.
Just to kind of go back. I remember actually watched the Legion one live, so I didn't really listen to that one, but I went back to the Warlords one just to kind of get an idea what you guys talk about on these things to make sure I didn't sound like too much of an idiot. So.
And I'm gonna go double check. Was Garg on both, if not all of those?
I think he was only on Legion, actually. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, really on
I don't
Legion?
think he was on Warlords.
Yeah, let's go.
Warlords were like Monkey-O and Sups, right?
Oh yeah. Legion was Garg, Dhaubbs, and Harl. And then Warlords, Monkey-O and Suplift. And gosh, who was on like the original one? Oh wow, Jada and Redfern.
Oh yeah.
Back
I watched the intro to that one.
I don't know. I can't even go back. If I see a thumbnail that is the old YouTube resolution of my old shows, I tell people don't watch it. I'm not gonna go back and fix all of those, right? It's a bit of a time capsule. But YouTube had a different resolution back in the day where it was like forced weird black bars, and that's too old. YouTube. I mean, you can, but they go back that far. I mean, the show goes back to 2013 in Mists of Pandaria, so it goes way back. Goodness. Way back. But it has been the way back. It's been about 7 years, which I put in the show notes, and I was a little bit surprised. I had to Google when Mists of Pandaria launched. It was September 2012, so almost 7 years since the Monk was added to the game. But then, so Mist to Warlords to Legion to Battle for Azeroth. How has the Mistweaver fared so far? Then, Dhaubbs, do you have anything you want to? If you could donate a kidney right now to get something back, is there something you would want to return to the toolkit, or is there something you'd very much like removed from the Mistweaver Monk toolkit right now? What do you, Mistwalker? I always do that. Mistweaver, Moistweaver.
Yeah, absolutely. I would give both my legs to get back Chi and original Manatee. Like, just give me Warlords again. Mistweaver was so much fun, and it had such an interesting and unique play style then. Not to say that it's like bad now, because it's fine now, but like there were the gameplay of like resource generation and spending, and then having that play off itself in Manatee and Chi was like really fun and interesting for me.
I like how I said a kidney, which, you can live without one of those, but you said both legs.
Yeah. I need Chi back, dude.
Is that, I guess, what's the difference between not having it and having it? Like, what's the major play style part you miss from having Chi?
So Chi was like really fun in that it added a little bit of like setup to Mistweaver. Also the buttons just felt really like uplift felt really good to press. And then on top of that, there was like really, I really liked having like little moments in a fight where I'd be like, okay, I'm in a Manatee here. I'm gonna like roll over here and find like a safe spot to sit and drink my little Manatee and get all my mana back, and then burn down again, and then get like 80% back, and burn down again and get 60, and yada yada yada. There was just like a really nice ebb and flow to the whole thing, and like, I'll admit, 100% it was broken because it's really hard to balance Manatee, right. But there was like a sweet spot for, I think, one raid where Manatee felt like really balanced. And after that, it got wild. So
that if that's the thing you want to bring back, I don't know if maybe I missed over the fact that you were going to donate both of your legs. Is something you want removed from the toolkit, though? Is there anything that right now that you just don't need in BFA that's just get out of here?
I actually thought really hard about that for a bit when I looked at the show notes. And like, there are things that I think would be good to leave behind just so it would free up space for the designers to do more stuff, but like there's been so much pruning in WoW in general. I don't know how, like, I don't know what I would give up,
Interesting.
Like,
well,
I guess maybe we could get rid of some of like the never pick talents in the Mistweaver tree, like Tiger Tail Sweep and the whatever the Chi-Chi one is. I've literally never picked it, so I don't even remember what it's called, but
yeah, I was going to make a jab at, because you say that there's nothing you would think needs to be removed, but I think that many people out there believe that fist weaving was removed. Not.
Oh, yeah. That's really rough, dude. How you going to bring up fist weaving like that?
I
Well,
like how you
it's
started with jab, by the way, too. It's nice.
Yep. Mostly unintentional. But how about you? What would you donate any body parts to have something brought back? Anomaly, are you in the same boat with Chi and Manatee, or something else that you
Yeah.
would like to see?
I mean, I don't know if I need original Manatee, but Chi definitely. I think Dhaubbs really stole my thunder with that, man. Both legs. Like, what else do I give at that point? Maybe an arm? Jesus. But no, I think, I mean, Chi definitely, from a, like, just basically, I guess, echoing what Dobbs said, right? The whole ebb and flow of the spec. And I think that's what we're kind of missing now is like healing feels like just a slow downward turn from a mana perspective, just making sure your mana bar lasts until the boss's HP, right? You're kind of playing the same game as the DPS is with your mana bar. There's not really like a chance to like burst and come back up. And I think Chi kind of gives you that interaction of like building towards something and then using it and then like trying to build back up, right? And I think that playstyle worked really well. Like it worked for Mistweavers. I think one of the Holy Priest specs had it in like WoD 2, with like Archangel, very similar, right? Like build up a resource and then expend it. And I think that style, I mean, personally, I really enjoy that. And I think it brings a lot to just the spec in general. Like it's really interesting. You care a little bit more about timings in a fight at that point. Like I don't know. But yeah, I mean, she definitely is, I think, a big goal or big gap right now. It's something I would definitely bring back. I guess I could. Sorry.
No, that's an interesting one that you'll bring up, essentially having your healer combo points back. But I wonder when we talk to Holy Paladins in the coming weeks if they would agree they want Holy Power back. I don't know.
I mean, I don't know. I like alternate resources. I think it just adds a flavor to the class. So, because right now pretty much all the healers, I mean, they don't play very similarly, but the ideas of them are a lot the same, right? Their spells might be different colors, but they do very similar things. So, I don't know. I think it's nice that you can then bring any healer you want, right, to a fight, but at the same time, you kind of lose some of that like specificity or like uniqueness, I guess is the word. So
I guess I want to follow up on that too, because there was this back and forth during beta for BFA about Essence Font. And I think Essence Font's probably been the most buffed spell in your toolkit, to my knowledge, and the new version of it and the talent you can couple with it. And is that faring as well as it needs to be right now? I know that was just one of those sticky points where in, again, beta, when we were testing it, it was like, just never hit this spell. And now it's like, all right. Is it working
you
then?
only hit it. I mean, yeah, I think it is. I think the changes they made to Essence Font even before beta, right? Like in late Legion, kind of helped it out a lot. Like being able to cast it on the move was like I think a huge change to it, and just a lot of its power from a Mistweaver perspective. Like a lot of the Mistweaver power sits in Essence Font. So sure. I didn't get to answer this question, but the one spell I would remove is probably Essence Font.
Oh,
only to open up additional spells to use, right? So like the idea is like I think Essence Font, like a lot of the Mistweaver AoE healing is centered around that spell, which is great, but it also means it's one of the only spells we want to hit. Like Jaina Phase 3, like you just hit Freshing Jadewind and Essence Font whenever it's up, because you want to keep everybody top. Like the same thing in pretty much Phase 2 too. So it's just I think there's probably too much Mistweaver power in that spell, although it's also really good. So like I feel bad saying I'd get rid of it, but I think that's the one. I guess to Dobbs' point, like the one thing I might get rid of just to add more design space to like an AoE kit. Maybe Uplift can come back at that point. Maybe there's a shot for Chi, right? To be fair, I'd give up Essence Font for Chi, by the way.
Ooh,
that I would do. So
would you?
Yeah, I'd trade Essence Font for Chi in a heartbeat.
Yeah, so okay, both agree. All right, we'll see if chat agrees or the YouTube comments if they're on the same page. But
now to be a little contrarian, like Now I understand like the design reasons why Essence Font is like probably not the healthiest thing for Mistweaver, but like, so the reason why I like basically any class is movement. So if a class has really good movement, I love it. I like Demon Hunter. I like Mistweaver. Both are like pretty easy, but what gets me about them is like their mobility is wild. And Essence Font as a spell is like, I know it's like not the most difficult spell to use, but like there's something really fun about controlling a spell by using your mobility. So like hitting Essence Font and then running around the raid like an idiot trying to like get as many people as possible is like kind of fun for me.
Does it still have like a targeting priority based on who you're near, or does it still each tendril wants to go to a different target first, doesn't it? So you don't have to do that, or
so it will Never hit the same person that it hit 5 bolts ago, and it will try to prioritize people that are damaged. Those are like the 2 rules.
Oh, okay.
And other than that, like this was a lot more important back when it had the 25-yard range, so you'd have to like hit it in melee and then run to ranged and then run back. But now that it's 30 yards, it's less important, but I still like running around, damn it.
Okay. So then my other little follow-up point on that was the whole, I'm going to put this in air quotes because I don't know. Yes, you do, but you don't need to. The whole melee healer thing right now, right? And we know where, and we'll talk to Holy Paladins, of course, in the future. This is the first healer show of BFA. And the original melee healer, one would argue, would be when Mistweaver Monk came into the game. But how are you faring as a quote-unquote melee healer? Because I have a wee monk that I played in Legion, and I haven't touched in BFA yet, but I think the only thing that I remember when I tested doing my first and second passes was that the only real gain you can get is there's like possibly a talent build that you can be a melee healer, but all it is mostly just mana regen and a little bit of damage. But it doesn't compare right now to what Holy Paladins can do at all. And is that, I don't know where to take this. I don't know what you guys feel. Do you have a love-hate relationship with your other melee healers, or?
So I think, and the reason like Paladin is absolutely crushing it right now in terms of melee healing is that their talents and their traits synergize really, really well. And Mistweaver has exactly 0 fist weaving traits. So it like fist weaving was like a nice little, like the framework's there. If they added a couple traits that like synergize with it at all, I feel like fist weaving could work. Because I've played fist weaver on every fight in BOD, and it's like it's viable, but it's never going to be. It's like not competitive at all. You can do like I'd say like 90, maybe 85% the healing of an upwelling build, and then about as much damage as a disc priest. But that's like not that's not a good selling point for talents.
Yeah, that doesn't sound too convincing, I would say. But there was always this weird back and forth, and that's why it's funny covering the Race to World First recently for Unat and seeing the method choice with the lots of disc priests to at least 2 on Unat, and even the splash of one that Pieces ran with, but they had the Holy Paladin Resto Druid combination. It still seems like ever since fist weaving and that style of melee healing was a huge thing in the whole damage to healing coefficient, it was just taken away from Monk, but it's all about discipline, and now Holy Paladin can crush with an offensive and healing-oriented throughput cooldown to do that very same thing, where it all originated from the Monk. And I wonder why Blizzard turned it so far away from the original spec that had it and then diversified it to other healers. And I'm not sure why that is their mentality, because I guess it was strong back in the day.
Yeah.
But it's strong on the other 2 healers that also have it right now too.
Yeah. I mean, it's for sure a bizarre feeling that Mistweaver that was sold as a spec that is meant you're supposed to deal damage to heal, right? That was like the whole point. Has sort of had that identity eroded. And I don't think it's bad that like Disc has gained that identity, and that Paladin to a degree is. I have a hard time considering Paladin to be like, because to me, Glimmer feels unintentional. Like Glimmer is way too strong. There's no way that the designers sort of like took a look at that and were like, yeah, this is fine. So I have a hard time like including them, but like yeah, to a degree. And Paladins sort of like make sense thematically because like they're holy warriors with swords and shields. They're supposed to like go in and attack stuff. Otherwise, they're just priests. Mm-hmm. So I get it. But what I don't get is why Blizzard isn't investing more design into accentuating the core fantasy of Mistweaver, which was to be a melee healer.
I think Dhaubbs is just because we're like a newer spec in class, so we haven't been around that long.
No. Get that out of here. What? 7 years old anomaly.
Yeah.
7 years old. 4 expansions under your belt. Well, 3.5. So, all right then. I mean, we'll bring up a little bit more of that a little bit later, but I want to get into the healer hierarchy then. This is the hate to see it, love to see it section of the show. We have to bring it up at least the first time because this is the first healer show we're going to have in the BFA junket, right? We have 5 more in the future that we'll talk about, but this old chestnut. So, healer hierarchy. And Dhaubbs already opened with part of this. You can bring whatever healers you want to certain instances, right? You can't look at like the race to world first and like the dropping of healers only bringing 3, blah, 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 whatever, right? That's different. Or I think some of the Restless Cabal to begin with was like 4 or 5 healers, like all discipline priests to stack shields, but sure. You have to at least feel out that there is sort of this, where do each of the 6 healers slot in BFA currently? And the first point is always, is Discipline Priest still too strong? Even after its aura nerf, right? So, Dhaubbs, where do you put everything into perspective here? And then Anomaly, I'm going to go to you with the same question. But Dhaubbs, you're up first.
Okay, so if we're doing like a strict, like, it's hard to rank things, right? So, like, if I were to build a raid for like a generalized fight, given what current healers can do, I would always bring a disc, a shaman, a glimmer paladin, and a mistweaver. Now, I think of those classes, the 3 that you would basically always want on almost every fight would be like shaman and disc priest, just because disc, obvious reasons, they slam throughput, shields counter a lot of abilities. And they've got a lot of like DR potential. And Shaman's Spirit Link is wild, and they can do a bunch of damage. They're also pretty cool right now. Glimmer is Glimmer, and then the weird part is trying to find a spot for Holy Priests, Mistweavers, and Druids. Druids and Mistweavers are always going to compete because we're kind of exactly the same class. We're both like super mobile healers that are tanky, that can deal damage in a pinch. And the only difference is one of them is reactive and the other's proactive. So it's really going to come down to like which is kind of better at the fight. You brought up Unat. On Unat, I think Druid probably has the edge on Mistweaver just because of the phase 3. Hots are like really valuable in phase 3, but other than that, Druid, like Mistweaver, just kind of like dunks on Druids just by virtue of the fact that we don't need any setup or very little setup.
Okay. So the part too that came up about Unat again and why they even splashed the Resto Druid apparently was also, I kind of brought it up here and there on the show, but it was because they were running double Brewmaster Monk tanks and hot layering into Stagger is real strong. So it was mostly for tank healing. And that was an interesting back and forth because Mistweaver Monk also has kind of fallen into this like tank healer role because your focused, hot-based spammable healing now is really good as well. And you brought the mobility up earlier too, where both druids and monks have that mobility. Tiger Dash is ludicrous as well, but I don't think it kind of compares with how Mistweaver moves around in counters, but that's where the interesting part comes to play. Do you have a different kind of hierarchy you've seen, Anomaly, or are you about
No,
the
I mean,
same?
I think I'm pretty much in line with Dhaubbs. Like, I think just like disc is disc. Like, it's either going to be awesome or it's going to be terrible. Like, I don't know if they can really balance it. And Shaman cooldowns are amazing right now. They're damaged with traits. Like, we bring up these traits again. Traits are great for Shaman. They're not great for Mistweavers. So, and then, yeah, like Glimmer from a Paladin perspective. I think those are going to be always your 3 you bring. And then the final one is, I think it's a toss-up, right? You take your best player on whatever their best spec is, right, at that point.
Right.
I don't think there's anything special that the last spot can be taken on the other 3 healers, right? So, yeah, I mean, ranking-wise, the funny thing is, though, I personally, if I did end up doing a ranking, I would probably put Mistweaver above Paladin and Shaman, just from like a number perspective, if I had to number them, but I think those 3 are very close. I think based on the fight, right, you can probably drop a Shaman in some instances, right? But in the general sense, like Disc, Shaman, Glimmerden is going to be what you want, and then your 4th healer can be your best player at that point. So
Right. And we brought that up at some point leaving. I know I've talked about it before, that we saw the aura nerf coming to Discipline Priest, and we knew it wasn't going to be enough. And lo and behold, it isn't. But I don't know if it's the healing throughput Discipline brings, or if it's still just the very proactive way that shielding works. Even though shielding isn't that strong right now outside of Rapture windows, and that's 90-second cooldown. It's just very, very strange how pinpointed that spec becomes in different iterations of the game, and based on how bosses are structured, based on how encounter damage is structured. A lot of it comes down to, I guess, DPS, because they are always almost DPSing the entire time, and they're also giving healing out at the same time. And we've seen how boss HP right now is a little bit crazy with how tightly tuned Restless Cabal and Unad are. But that's the weird part, because Holy Paladins, obviously, they do their huge burst, and they have a cooldown. But I think a lot of it is just consistent with that, with doing the damage and the healing at the same time. But so I think you already both popped the thought bubble then. If you can only bring 4 healers to an encounter, which ones do you bring? I think you already brought that up, where it's Discipline Priest, Shaman, Glimmerdin, and then you're kind of like your 4th slot is something.
Yeah. Well, and to be clear, I don't want to make it seem like, like these 3 specs are broken and everyone else is kind of garbage. Like, healer balance right now, I feel, is like pretty close. Like, all the healers kind of do this like equivalent numbers. Like, I feel like balance is like really good at the moment.
Okay.
And like Mistweaver in particular is pretty strong. But it's just, if I was building like an ideal comp, then I would bring those certain things,
Well,
yeah, because I mean, we're almost like nitpicking, right? Like to bring your top 4, it's like 0.5%. Like the numbers are not wildly different. That like druids are, hundreds and thousands of HPS below everybody else, right? So
it's not. We're not like in a situation like in Nighthold where druid is literally doing like 40% more healing than a Mistweaver. It's like, well, everyone's like within like 5%.
Yeah. So I guess then this brings up sort of that devil's advocate question that I know gets thrown around here and there in the community. Does the Mistweaver need something extra in their toolkit, either offensively or defensively, proactively, or whatever, to feel strong in raids, though? I know Revival has that sort of the boosted coefficient that does like Trank or is it just, I think that's just Trank and the Holy Priest one. Revival is still just flat, whatever it is, right? It doesn't actually scale in different content.
Yeah, Revival's just the same, regardless.
Right. So I guess that's the one, because you have Revival, and then you have Life Cocoon. A Life Cocoon is a pretty beefy absorb used properly, but that's it. And that's the one thing that always brings everything up, that you have Paladins that have their DR and their offensive plus defensive cooldowns and blessings and hands and stuff like that. And again, it's just, they did tack on the amazingly awesome 5% physical damage buff to Monk, period. But that's not really a healer concern. We'll get into the Mythic Plus stuff here in a little bit. But is there something more that you think that Mistweaver needs? Or should have, or to compete? Yeah, Anomoly, what do you...
So I would say like a cooldown that actually matters, I'd say. So like a button like Avenging Wrath, if we do a Paladin equivalent, right? Or like even like a Evangelism from Disc or Schism, something like that, where it makes you just do more healing. Like whatever the healing is, it just makes you do more of it. Because our only cooldown right now is a talent in Manatee, right? Which just halves our mana cost for spells for 10 seconds of casting, right? Because it's on the GCD, so it's not actually 12. But yeah, I mean, I think that's the biggest thing missing, is just like, we don't have a button that we press that makes us feel good about healing, other than maybe Essence Font, right? Which is now like a rotational ability, I guess, in most cases. So
yeah, that's the
I could see that for sure.
It's also a strange spot. I've heard, I mean, the Manatee discussion gets brought up. We already brought up on the show before. I've definitely seen that. I think the other one too is that they moved your Jade Serpent statue to a talent as well for some reason. That seems like it should just be something in the base kit. Because
Oh yeah, there's a lot of stuff that I think should be in the base kit.
yeah.
I don't know. Oh god.
I didn't understand that one, to be quite honest. Because honestly, does Soothing Mist, the channel from Soothing Mist on your Jade Serpent statue, really equate to anything that's like, oh no, nerf Mistweaver? It's almost just kind of like nice.
Yeah, depending on the fight, it can net you like 5 to 8% healing. So it's like not terrible. It's just with a design space like Jaina, like Blockade, and like Unot, where everyone's taking sort of a lot of damage in waves and consistently, Russian Jadewind just slaps those fights.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, and that's the one thing I want to throw up to chat as well too. And I think did did I misspeak? Did he meant to say Spirit of the Crane baseline? Oh, my bad. Yeah, they broke that off. So that's in your talents, your whole mana row talent, right? Life cycle, Spirit of the Crane, and Manatee, where like Manatee can feel like it's an impactful talent, I guess. They had to make it fight other things, but that was also part of just the baseline of how Mistweaver used to play anyways, but you could DPS to get mana back, and you have to talent to get that back now. So that's a strange one. But maybe this will all go into that bucket that Ian talked about, how they realize they have probably removed and taken away too much stuff from the classes over the past 2 expansions, which is also why I think, again, as I say before, this talent calculator we have right now, the MOP version, gone in 9.0. This is dusted. They're going to bring some brand new crazy multi-tiered like Final Fantasy looking vanilla classic WoW whatever. They're going to make a whole new talent calculator for us. I think this is the last expansion with this thing.
But yeah, I hope so. That would be like a really nice shakeup. Not to say that what we have is like necessarily bad, but like
right.
The fact that I think what we have now would be good if we didn't lose if they added stuff to it ever. Like we haven't gotten a new talent row in like forever. And B, if they didn't put things that were baseline and make them talents without replacing anything,
Yeah. That's what I wonder.
It just feels bad now to like click the Manatee on the talent calculator and be like, man, I remember when I used to have this without having to click this button, or like Jade Serpent statue, right, being a talent. I think I don't know. I have some thoughts about the way they've designed this class, particularly coming like into Legion, and it's just not in a good way. And I think they fixed it mostly with BFA, but I think they moved too much. They pulled too much off, at least Mistweaver specifically, right? But I think most classes, like, people agree. Yeah,
I think this is definitely echoed in any of the shows we've done so far, and then we'll keep seeing how that progresses, which is probably why there's no class adjustments, no class changes in 8.2, and none potentially for the rest of the expansion, because there's no point in them doing class adjustments and changes to baseline kits when they're going to change it all up in 9.0 anyway. And they might as well they're going to slap the essences on there, let the game essentially break wide open, because those are ridiculous, and just let the game kind of play out in a weird, like, awkward power struggle, because we have a Jara coming up and then potentially an Azeroth, right? So big baddies, and just let the game kind of be kooky and weird for a little bit, and then they're going to wipe it up and then change it for 9.0, but we will see. But I want to expand upon the toolkit slightly then, and now we can bring up Mythic Plus. Okay, so Mythic Plus right now, until Mechagon comes out in 8.2.5, because there ain't going to be no melee in that place. But that's down the road. Bring all the melee, right? So you got like the double rogue. You've got the Windwalker monk. Why not like double rogue, demon hunter, and then like a Mistweaver monk? Why is the druid got nerfed so many damn times going from Legion to BFA, and it's still, outside of some discipline pre-splashing, Resto Druid is still the healer that is seen in like the higher end meta of Mythic Plus. So Dhaubbs, what do you think? Have you been watching any of the MDI? What are your thoughts on like the Mythic Plus meta?
So Druid is just like really, really good in terms of how the class functions, right? So like Mistweaver can kind of do what Druid does, but we have to choose between healing and dealing damage. Whereas Druid is just like, all right, throw up your hots, and then go into cat form and cat weave, or they can do like pretty good damage from ranged as well by with their other spells. Whereas like as a monk, if you're in ranged, you're doing absolutely no damage. So while Mistweaver is like really good in keys, I think it just like doesn't quite live up to like where Druid is. And when you're talking about like bleeding edge like competition where like people are neck and neck by a couple of seconds or something, like high keys and with the MDI, you're going to take what you think is like going to give you the strongest chance of success. And I think Druid just fills that role better than Mistweaver at the moment.
There is actually, as I reload Raider.io real quick, there is a Mistweaver in 18th place right now on the overall leaderboards. Look at that. Got a plus 25.
That grandpa slaps.
Yeah. Yeah. Who's Droga or Drogo? Someone get them on the horn, because that's the only one I'm seeing here. Let's keep going. Oh, Prodigy at 55, but it's a lot of orange. Oh, we got another one. We got Celadon at 95th, but at least it's bringing some back and forth to my discussion. Is it's basically Resto Druid or Mistweaver Monk in like the top 100 spots right now. You got a Holy Paladin in here at 123, but then again, another Mistweaver. Look at that. So there's some back and forth on there. Holy Paladin. Holy Paladin again. We're double Mistweaver. So it is back and forth in there. That is a little bit of representation for Mistweavers. But
yeah. And at the start of the expansion, Mistweaver was like very well represented in Mythic Plus. Like you had a lot of people really pushing with Mistweaver.
It is the highest.
It's less so now.
It's the highest represented monk in Mythic Plus across everything right now, over the 3 million plus sample size at 104.5 thousand. So yeah. Yeah, chat brings it up again too. Yeah, B-Res is a big deal, obviously, because if you bring a Mistweaver, then do you bring a Druid in another category, or bring? Because see, let's go back up here to the first one we saw. What was their comp for that run? Oh yeah, wow. They did no res actually. Let me scroll down. They had no res. It was Outlaw Rogue, Fury Warrior, Havoc Demon Hunter. So again, triple melee, and with the Mistweaver Monk and the tank, essentially 5 melee, but no battle res. Interesting. No battle res.
I remember like when the engineering res came out. I was so excited for that, but it's very bad.
That's
like I get making it weaker than the other reses because you kind of have to, right? Like that's sort of the point, and why you would want to let specs have powerful tools, but to make the res not only like what a 5-second cast and you have to be standing on them, that's wild. Like that's way too many restrictions. If someone's dead, chances are they're in a place where it's not safe to stand. So like it's really hard to res them. And if you're taking 5 seconds to like res a tank that died or something, the rest of your group is also dead. So it's like it's almost useless for me to have it, and DPS just have to run it instead.
It's kind of the weird back and forth that I wonder about if they're going to evolve the Mythic Plus meta in 9.0. And first off, Blizzard apparently wants to add more class-specific buffs to the game. I don't know why. Please stop them. The mad scientists over at Blizzard want to bring more of that nonsense. But if they're going to, why are there scrolls for int, attack, power, and fort? And why aren't there like a potion or a scroll for the 5%, or it'd be like 4% magical and physical damage taken, so you could actually bring those regardless of your group comp? And if battle reses are such a big deal, would it be too much to ask that like battle reses be like a specific, maybe like a potion or an elixir that you can throw and splash on somebody that anyone can use, so you can still adhere to the battle res limit, but you don't have to bring a battle res only spec in only Mythic Plus? Like it'd be like a only active in Keystone Dungeons or whatever, right? Would that be a weird? Well, we see the Mythic Plus meta shake up a whole lot. Well, you didn't have to bring this. Would that open up a lot more options, I wonder? and people could play really interesting comps that aren't just. I thought about Headshake Anomaly. What do you think?
I don't. I think the problem. I mean, those would be nice, right? But I don't think those buffs are. I mean, Battle Res being the big one, right? Other than that, but I don't think those are like. I still think you would bring a Druid healer over any of the other ones in an MDI setting. Because I think I think damage wise, like Dhaubbs was mentioning, like they can do a ton of damage while still healing. They don't have to make a choice. I think somebody in chat mentioned too, a lot of the healer affixes don't generally affect druids. Like Quaking, they have very little cast time, right? So like that one's kind of a moot point for druids. And so I think just the druid toolkit in general is so suited to that 5-man content that unless you break druids, like I don't think they're not going to bring one, right? Battle Res on top is just great because there's no more DKs. So from a tanking perspective, right? It's all generally warrior. So like you still covered there from a Battle Res perspective. So there's a lot more pressure on the druid, but you still, I don't think you'd bring a different healer.
Well, not only that, and I can't believe I forgot this, but druids have stealth too. Like holy moly,
true. Yeah,
stealthing past trash and like a pull you want to skip and just mass rezzing is so powerful.
Yeah,
I mean that's why you see so many night elves too.
But yeah, but you can have that's the oof. That's a tough one. I wonder if we're going to see another shift, whatever the next seasonal affix is going to be when Reaping goes away. And if Shadow Meld isn't as prevalent, you can still do things with Shadow Meld anyway. But the big thing that we've seen the MDI a few times, and it's hilarious, is Reaping spawns, and Wump Zombie's like, go get him! And then they all just, huang. 5 people just huang out of existence and just Shadow Meld, and the Reaping just doesn't know what to do. So, unfortunate.
I know I'm really going to miss Reaping. Like, what a fun affix.
The next one's going to be Ajara and fish oriented, so we'll see. Just, I have no idea.
Fish affix poggers.
Yeah. So now with all
the whole dungeon gets filled with water, and you have to swim for 3 minutes.
Oh.
I mean, I was going to suggest like random seagulls attack you, but that sounds even worse.
Oh no.
That certain dungeons suddenly become immersed in water and they become underwater. Oh no. Fish affix. Yeah.
Druid is travel form for that, by the way.
Yeah, then Druid will be just manatee form. So more reasons why Druid's still good. Oh no. So with all that broken down, then let's talk about numbers for a little bit here. This was what you both brought up in Discord prepping for the show about secondary stats. And are there any, I don't like using the word breakpoints, but it gets thrown around. Are there any breakpoints or more so the feel-good points that Mistweavers want to have? And does this change in Mythic Plus, or does it change in raids? Does it change based on anything else, or is it just like a hierarchy? Because I know this is the one thing that Restorer Druids may or may not also have you with the leg up, depending on what your answer is about to be here, because Restorer Druids just were highest eye level forehead. But
yeah, that's kind of us too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think in at least in a Mythic Plus setting, like all of our secondaries are pretty much generally going to provide the same amount of output, right? So there's really very little variance in what you're going to get or what you should wear, right? So generally, it's Mythic Plus where your highest eye level. I think from a numbers perspective, it's the same eye level gear. You'd favor Mastery, but even then, it's so close that just the highest eye level you get, just put it on, forget about it. It's pretty simple to gear for Mythic Plus. I think from a raid perspective, it's slightly different. I still think crit verse are going to be the stats you want to aim for. Again, though, you're not dropping 10 ish eye level like you would in Legion if you got a piece with Mastery on it, right? You're not going to forego that type of there's not that big of a gap from a numbers perspective in our stats anymore, which is a good thing, I think. But a lot of it's very close, and I think a lot of it can change fight to fight. Like I think from a Mistweaver's perspective, one of the first, I guess this might be the first expansion that at least I've noticed it, right, where different fights can have different essentially like stat weights, right? Where you'd want to equip potentially more Mastery for like a fight like Rastakhan, right, where there's a lot of tank damage, you're going to do more single target healing, and then you're going to want more, crit and verse for a fight like, and even haste really for a fight like Jaina, right, where a lot of your healing is going to be an Essence Font and refreshing Jadewind, so and much less in Mastery. So I think, I think generally in raids you're going to want crit first, but I think it's going to depend on the fight. And as a plug, use the tools out there to kind of like get your stat weights from the fight you're doing, because a lot of stuff now you can do it fight by fight and kind of really zone in and hone in on what you need.
All right. Dhaubbs, what about you? You have anything you want to add to the secondary stat haste discussion?
Yeah, basically exactly that. All our stats are really good. And even like people dunk on haste a little bit. I think too much. Like haste is really, really good in Mythic Plus. A lot. There was like a big meme at the start of the expansion where like a lot of very good players rose to the top of the Mythic Plus ladder board, and people would rightly ask them like, "What stat weights are you using?" Right? Because people are curious, and these players, I don't know if this was like bad faith acting or not, but they would like give their opinion on what the stats were, and there's like actually no backing to the things they were saying. I saw like the most ridiculous, I don't want to flame too hard, but like I saw like some very questionable reasoning as to why you should use certain stats. And because these people are like at the top echelons of play, a lot of people took it as gospel, which like I understand. But there was like this big meme that like haste was absolute garbage and you would never want haste. Haste is like negative HPS and you're gonna deplete a 9 if you use haste at all. When in reality, like mastery and haste were your highest throughput stats by far. So yeah, it's thankfully now we've got like some very, very powerful tools made by Anomoly and more recently Volk in Peak of Serenity and of questionably epic fame have been like really improving tools to find stat weights. So if you're using the WoW analyzer, or I think healer stat weights is now like pretty good. I can't remember if that's deprecated or not, but I think healer stat weights is good.
Yeah, they just went through a big update. I think like a end of March timeframe. So yeah, healer stat weights, at least from Mistweaver, is definitely an okay thing to use. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, thank God, because that whole thing just completely erases any of those debates. You can just literally look at these add-ons, say like, look, haste is fine, chill.
Exactly.
Oh, also shout out to Abe for helping Anomoly on the WoW analyzer.
God.
Well, that's one flogging because he didn't open the show with that.
Oh,
No,
I gotta go.
Yeah. Uh-oh. But how about we'll shift gears here a little bit then to the future and 8.2. Of course, if you have questions for the guest on the show today, you can say that for after the break, and then we'll sort of bring up the FAQ in the Q&A section of the show, and you can just sort of riff back and forth those for a little bit. But 8.2 is on the PTR. I have run Mechagon on opening night with Sluty and Mike and some members of the community, and the jab about no melee in that dungeon is potentially kind of real. The nonsense and the mechanics in that place on a higher key Mythic Plus, when it gets split, right? It'll be outside and inside Mechagon. But man, there is some... Blizzard is almost like making it on purpose where maybe we'll find a way around it, but the melee in that place are going to be really punished. So we'll see if the meta changes there, but it's a really fun dungeon. Holy crap. But 8.2's big thing, that Heart of Essence, Heart of Azeroth essences, major and minors. There is some crazy powerful things there. Like these Seeds of ANR, for instance. I don't know if that's going to scale differently in 5-mans, but what have you guys started to piece together based on the 8.2 PTR for what you're eyeballing? Anomoly, have you guys started working on stuff for figuring out?
Yeah. Yeah, I spent like a couple hours on PTR just testing some of the essences. They seem right now pretty broken across the board. I think just from a tuning perspective, they're a little overpowered, but there are definitely some interesting ones that'll probably fill some holes in a lot of specs and maybe make some specs a little bit too strong, right? Because like, I mean, I think the way that Seeds is working right now ends up being like a very strong, just like blanket type essence you'd want to take. So any sort of like class and get a bunch of hots out because the Seeds proc on pretty much every hot tick. If you can spread those out, so like Essence Font is good for Mistweaver, Druids in general with their hots, it's really good to get out there. And some of the mana return ones seem just downright ridiculous, and a Mistweaver with a lot of mana is actually a very good thing, since a lot of our spells are balanced around just the mana costs themselves. So I think those two essences are the ones that really stood out. It'll be fun to see. I mean, I kind of want Blizzard like kind of in the back to make these a little bit overpowered, right? And just for the sake of like having something strong, right? A button, at least, you know, personally for me, like a button that I hit that feels good, right? So yeah, I mean, I think a bunch of the essences look interesting. I just want to see what the final tuning ends up being, because they can swing one of two ways, right? Be something you have to have, or be something that you avoid at all costs. So
Right.
but the season and the mana one I think look the most interesting. And then the for Mythic Plus, sorry, there's the overheal one. That kind of builds the majors, like it builds a ball that follows you around that collects all your overhealing. And then you can use it as like a single target ability, or it'll take that overhealing and apply it to the healing you do as it like depletes it down. So I think that's probably going to end up being like a mandatory one for Mistweaver in a Mythic Plus perspective. Don't quote me on that. Well, you're probably going to, but just because I think that's one of the bigger gaps, like single target bursts, right? From a Mistweaver perspective, like immediate. Like I think we have a sustained healing from a single target perspective, but if somebody dips to like 5%, like we can life cocoon them, and that's it, right? Like we don't have a instant like lay on hands type thing, holy shock,
Right.
swift mend, right?
Like
So that'll kind of fill that hole.
The Dhaubbs special.
Yeah, life cocoon and like soothing, enveloping. Oh my god, please live for 2 more seconds. Yeah. So
is the essence that builds up overhealing always building it up, or only when you're in combat though?
I think it's only in combat, but when I was testing on dummies, it stayed with you, so you could build it throughout a dungeon, and
Ooh, okay.
yeah, and it worked on hot, so like it's any healing, right? So you could like spread rems anytime you vivify. Then even if a person's at full health, you're gonna get that cleave too. So from a Mistweaver perspective, like there's a bunch of like just general healing we do, not really thinking about it, that would then kind of focus into that orb. So
Yeah, that's what I was wondering, because you're gonna have rems out, and you're obviously gonna have. I mean, I wonder how it would work with not like a degenerate strat, but if you funneled revival into it and put all the overhealing of a revival into that orb, and then you could use that as a single target catch all for your tank later on in the dungeon. Like there's some gameplay potential there, right? Because obviously if you revival in your tank and everyone else takes it, it's like a little bit in a 5-man. But if you overheal on purpose to funnel that all in to the essence, and then you can use it on your tank when, you know, the boss smacks them for 80% of their health, and it's like a lay on hands. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely some thought, like some gameplay there. I think
Yeah,
that people a lot smarter in Mythic Plus than me are going to figure out, and I'll steal it at that point. So
the other ones that are also the play here too is that there are the ones that aren't just healer only. They're the generic ones that are like the DPS-y style ones. And that's what we have to bring back up fist weaving again. Dhaubbs, do you guys think there's anything that's going to allow you to do anything weird in that sense to bring that DPS to Mythic Plus that you're lacking, if that's the part of the balancing teeter-totter that doesn't take away too much from your healing, but you can actually use it in an offensive capacity, because there are ones that healers can use that are still DPS oriented.
Oh boy, I don't know. Maybe I haven't really thought about the DPS side of the essences too much, because like I've just been focusing on the raids, you know. But maybe you might be able to like take DPS traits and then rely on the power of the essence to sort of carry you through. But I don't know if that would like make us competitive in the sense of like a druid who could just take the healing essences and then still do like good damage and like heal more too. Like I don't know. It's hard to say.
Yeah, that's
I think the other big thing, I guess, for Monk fist swinging, right? We don't scale off damage done. It's just spell power.
Right.
So like the fact that these damage traits like increase some level of damage doesn't help us. I wonder if it interacts with Atonement at all, right? Because that's like from a Disc Priest perspective, that would probably be good for them. But I don't know if there's an interaction there. That's where you kind of see it, right? Fist sweeping would be better if it kind of worked like Atonement, where it was based on damage done, and then we could feed more into that. But it's just like a flat spell power, like 12% or something like that. So,
Reading chat though, Tordy says, "How can a revival overheal if it does no healing?"
Come on, man.
God, Torty, it hurts, man. I'm sad now.
Hey, that's why I was bringing up in like the 5-man context. Because it is like that's an interesting one. I wonder if I think a lot of the early discussion, and this is where Mike and I have, bashed heads back and forth on how some of the essences are really annoying and really boring and not really, that flashy or awesome. But at the same time, I think there's going to be some interesting developments in the community to find out which combinations of major and minor, and then eventually you'll have 3 minors. You'll have that extra minor down the road at 65. And how those will change and either shore up potential weaknesses or accentuate strengths of certain specs and things. And I think it's going to be a little bit, at least from the DPS standpoint, our current like just blanket look at of a couple of different things is that we're all gaining like 30 to 40% DPS on some of these combinations, which is a huge jump right now. So it'll be interesting to see how tanks and healers adapt to it as well, and how that change will go. Because if the healers are even stronger and there's really hard mythic raid bosses, dropping to 2 healers might be way more potential, if not kind of to drop to 2 healers. But it could be a thing. We saw it in the past when we didn't have these silly things. We'll have to wait and see how that changes. But anything else you want to wrap up that you may have forgotten from the initial topics, or am I good to move us along here? Get to chat Q&A.
No, I'm good.
I'm good.
Good to go? All right, then. Well, I'm going to jibber jab for a moment. My guests can step away if they have to take a little bio or something like that, grab a drink. That's totally fine. I have a few things that I'm going to blab about real quick. Of course, if you have missed any of the show, and that is MISSED, not MIST. The whole show gets archived, of course, over on my YouTube channel. So if you want to go check those out, the VODs, they go up about 24 hours or so after the main show goes live, and you can go back and watch any of the side content or any of the archives from the past show. And the current season, of course, is up there. We have all the new branding going and all the other side content that I do produce. You can go back and check all those out as the show, of course, moves forward. The world first shows, it's been asked many times, I am not doing a world first or world second for the Crucible of Storms. Mostly because I was part of the Method back and forth. And if you want to go check that out, of course, you can go over to Method's YouTube channel, and they will be archiving all the past episodes of the Race to World First coverage for the Crucible of Storms, the talk show that I produced. Method approached me and asked me if I wanted to roll all the buttons and do all the live production of the show, and I did for 10 days. So you can go check those out if you want to just put them on as a podcast in the background and sort of listen to all of our ramblings as the entire race unfolded in front of you. That, of course, is all there. Or you can go listen to any of it right now. If you go to twitch.tv/method, go to their Twitch channel and listen to it on the VODs. All the whole VODs are up there. Or wait until they fix them and cut them up and put them on YouTube. Either one works. My live show, of course, also gets archived and slapped up on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play Music. It's on my website. The RSS feed is also available for patrons for the behind-the-scenes Patreon BTS shows as well. That is a new feature that if you are on Patreon and listen to the behind-the-scenes, off-script, extra shows that do get put out there that are over there, you can go do that, and you listen to those audio only as well. That's a new feature. It'll show up over here on your right sidebar when you're looking at one of the posts that has the Patreon BTS. So you can go grab those, listen to those on the go, where you want to plug those into. But the other big thing, if you have not been around here in a while, and I have a couple more announcements we've gone over lately, is that I'm probably at a point right now, thanks to support from the show and the live streams and everything else that I'm putting out, that I've been in communication with actual sponsors. And I'm partnered now. You may have heard that we're with Corsair and Elgato. The upcoming ones that you may not have heard about, of course, TC Helicon approached me and we talked back at TwitchCon, but I have a Go XLR that I'll be plugging everything into when I do my new computer build coming up soon, and as well as MSI. MSI has sent me some product to put in the new build that you'll see on the live stream and the studio tour and whatnot. But of course, if you are looking at supporting the show, the stream, and everything in between and what I do here on the internet, and you don't want to just throw money at my face like GoRec did earlier in the show, I see you. But you can go do that over on Corsair. Links are down below the stream or in the description box down below if you're looking at any bits and bobs and stuff and things for your next computer build, cases, keyboards, headsets, RAM, power supplies, all this stuff. A lot of the guts that I even currently have in this build right now are a lot of Corsair pieces already. That's why I'm super excited to be working with them and them working with me. And then if we work together as everything, maybe we can replace Bajira's beautiful face with my face on keyboards and mice. I don't know. That's kind of how that works, right? So links down below if you want to support what I do here and keep me going and keep me doing this. And it depends on where you are. There's a question I saw in chat, only in the US. It depends on where you are, right? If you order things directly off of Corsair's website, you have to go through the whole cart process. You go down below, click on the link, make your cart, and it depends on where you live in the world. I have seen a couple of people that they couldn't get things sent to them, which is fine. It depends on where shipping is all around places, but different countries have different shipping rules, and Corsair ships to many of them, just not all of them, because of international trade or whoever knows what. But you can go check that out. Links are down below. Same thing with Elgato. MSI's link will be up soon once we get that all finalized. But that is another way you can keep the show happening, right? We have a lot of spec shows to get through, and I've said before, because of holidays and other things coming up, that it's going to take basically a whole year to get through the expansion. But on the horizon, I'm looking at Elemental Shaman next Sunday, which I don't know if you heard any of the thunder and lightning earlier in the show today. I live in Florida, but it looks like they're a little jealous. But they're next week, Elemental Shaman, and we'll talk all about Mythic Unot and the Elemental Shaman stacking versus Warlocks and what they're doing. I do believe I have Sham and Kana and potentially one more planned for that show. So it's Elemental Shaman next week. Week after that should be Feral Druids, which is a bit of a catch-up show due to the fact that they are really strong right now, but they keep getting just swept under the rug for some reason. We'll talk to Feral Druids on that one. And then I think the last week of this month, there'll be no show again as I go through the incredible building process of going from one PC to two and the new audio gear. But I'll keep you updated on Twitter about that one. And that, of course, is all down below the stream. So it was actually kind of funny. I was setting up the Elemental show, and Kana just sees the tweet and says, "Need a guest for that show?" I said, "Yeah, sure, you want to come on?" Yeah. So more on that, of course. You can follow me on Twitter at FinalBossTV for updates for the show if you have questions coming up. And, of course, if you join the Discord, you can submit questions for the show to help me build the show notes. All right. That's enough jibber-jabbing out of me. Are you guys back? Ready to take some viewer questions? Dhaubbs Anomoly, we good?
Oh, yup.
Always here.
Oh, gosh. Oh, good gracious. Okay. So, new section of the show, of course, we just call the FAQ. We kind of mix that together with questions from chat. So if either of you see something that in chat you want to address, I have some rapid fire ones that we can bring up. The first one I have to bring up is the allied race question. Are any of the allied races that a monk can swap to worth it, and why?
I don't. Oh, okay. So it really depends on what someone means by worth it when they ask. So like for example, when High Mountain Tauren came out, I swapped to them in a heartbeat because I love Tauren, and being a Moose Tauren is like, whoo, that's even better.
Female Moose Tauren?
No, I gotta go male, because the reason I like Tauren is because they're huge, so you can see like what armor I'm wearing. This has been the reason I've liked Tauren since like 2007 when I started playing one. Is like I wanted to show off all the good gear that I got, and this was again before transmog, but all the good gear I got out of the best raids. It was a way on like to like flex on people, you know. Okay. But so I like instantly swapped to High Mountain Tauren because like they're like reasonably close to Blood Elf, but like that was like making a slight sacrifice to my throughput because I like my enjoyment of the game is increased. It was worth it for me. If other people like what, so I guess the main thing here is if people the throughput difference between any of the races is like at most like what Anam would know better than me, but it's like 1 or 2%. Like
it's very small. Like it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's so small it's almost negligible. Or it is negligible. It's like almost meaningless. So you can play whatever you want.
I'm with
really.
you. I'm with you on the High Mountain Tauren for a very different reason though, because obviously you have different amounts of CC as a monk now, and we know how ridiculous Ring is right now. Ring of Peace has risen way up there because you have a baseline and you can take your stun on top of it. Or you can take your Fart Clag, which no one takes. But Bull Rush and Ring of Peace and Leg Sweep is a lot of ridiculous AoE potential or AoE crowd control potential. So I'm with you on that one. Not for the transmog.
I see. I'm not sure if it still works like this, but when I first was testing High Mountain Torn, even though the Bull Rush says it's a knockdown, it DRs stuns, which like made it really unfavorable for my leg sweep. But I don't know if that was just like because it was in the first week, because there's a lot of other stuff with High Mountain Torn that was bugged. Like I know their versatility they weren't getting verse or something like that as well.
Mm-hmm. I'll probably in chat picked up on the joke there that I said Ring of Peace is baseline. I mean, it practically is.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, if you pick anything other than Ring of Peace, you're trolling yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, unfortunately. So, oh yeah, big antlers. Hey, my warrior is a female High Mountain Tauren. She's awesome. Let me look. We have a question in chat. Oh, how about what kind of situation or encounter is optimal for Mistweaver, and how could Blizzard make monks do it even better than other healers? I guess what kind of encounters do Mistweavers feel best in your experience?
So
yeah, you can take this. I feel like I've been like steamrolling these questions from you.
It's fine. I mean, I'm just here as a pretty face, right? That's it. And I got the production value. So
exactly.
No, I mean, encounter. I mean, I would say like an encounter, at least personally for me, like Jaina makes the most, like is a very good encounter for Mistweaver, right? Because you get to use a lot of your player-based like AoE stuff, like refreshing Jade Wind. That's the right word. I always get rushing and refreshing mixed up.
Yeah, I just always call it rushing.
Yeah.
Rushing is the DPS version, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah. So refreshing Jade Wind. You get to use that like in a very like low damage but consistent damage, right? Type phase, and like you have like periods of burst damage with siege breakers where Mistweavers can leverage, revival or just like essence fonts, having a bunch of rems out to like get your vivify cleave going. So I think Jaina, the way the encounters work best is where you have like predetermined spots of having a lot of raid damage, and that there's also an underlying ticking damage underneath that, so that you don't get topped immediately, right? Because I think the one gap there is like if you take Cabal, for example, where like there's AoE damage, but then use a raid cooldown, everybody's topped, or like the disc is ramped and they pop off, or your shaman drops whatever, just cleave everything, and like you hit essence font and there's nobody else to heal. Like that feels bad. So I think Jaina is a good example of a fight that Mistweavers probably are really strong at. And I don't know, I guess what's the second part? How do they do it better? I mean, nerf disc, I guess. Like, and then Mistweaver would be good, even better than they are. I don't know.
We need someone to go back into the entire archive of Final Boss TV, and every time any guest, not myself, says nerf discipline, we need a tally. Get to it, internet. No one's going to do that, but I think it'd be funny. That would be really... it's probably like the most quotable thing on the show, I would imagine. I'm looking at the stats here for races, too. Going back off, I was curious what Dhaubbs was going off of. I mean, Pandaren is like 22% Horde, 20% Alliance, then Blood Elf is at 14%. Poor High Mountain Tauren at the 1% mark right here. Oh no.
They're new. You can't bully them.
No, I'm not. Just we need more Moose Tauren. Get to it.
This is a call to action. Everyone, go buy a race change.
Two call to actions. Yeah. Well, you could have bought your race change when it was cheaper. Damn. How about what is the best skin for your Legion artifact? Which one is the best for Shaylun? Anomoly, which one do you pick?
Challenge mode. The challenge mode white one. Like the white-ish. It's like a whitish blue color one. It's the best one. The challenge mode, any of the shades of the challenge mode one work, but that like whitish blue one is the best. It's the only one that matters. So
that was exactly my answer as well, because not only does it look rad as hell, but you can show that you can flex on people. Well, when you originally got it in the challenge, it was like kind of difficult. You can like flex on people saying like, I got this. So that was nice.
Exactly.
But I guess a close second is the Yulon Gong just default green. That staff looks so sick. It's like one of the best models in the game, easily.
Now,
Other than that, I think it's just those two.
you're saying the challenge mode one. You mean the mage tower, correct?
Oh yeah, sorry. That's what I meant. Whatever that thing was that was really good that they'll never bring back. That thing.
The chi orb on the pole. I was bringing it up. Yeah. This one then. There we go.
Yeah,
that one.
that's the best one.
That's the best one.
The shade. Oh my, look at that. It's beautiful. All right, that one's okay. That's the second best one, and this one is, yeah. But that white one, I think, is the best.
The white chi orb one. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Just making sure that has to come up. I did the challenge mode on my monk, on all 3 monks, I believe. So I have a little bit of street cred in that for the mage tower. Did Ret Pally, did my warrior in all 3, the mage in all 3. Yeah.
Yeah, I waited till they nerfed them and then did them on the classes that were monks. It's like all the hunter ones when it was like you just DPS the boss, didn't care.
Yep. Oh yeah, they got wicked easy after Tomb of Sargeras though anyway, so.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. This is a contentious one, but I will bring this up. I'll put this at Dhaubbs first. Even though I thought Resto Druids were nerfed enough as it is, leaving Legion into BFA, they nerfed their survivability. They lowered some of their potential healing. In the way they also buffed their healing as well, though, because they buffed Tranquility. But how would you rebalance Restoration Druid in, I guess, the Mythic Plus sense so that it wasn't the go-to healer?
I don't know if I would necessarily rebalance Resto Druid. I might just make some of the tools that they give available to other healers, or change dungeon design to limit Resto's strengths. Because I don't think Resto's like necessarily like the end all be all like crush that it has been. Like, yeah, it like dominates the scene, but I think that has more to do with the way that Mythic Plus has to be done in general. Like, battle reses are so valuable, stealths are so valuable, and being able to do damage while healing is really valuable. And it's really hard to like change any one of those things without like completely retooling Druid. So, and I don't like nerfing classes in general. I would prefer to see other classes like get buffed.
Right.
So I don't know. Maybe if like they just made like the engineering battle res better. Maybe if they made it so that there were more packs that detected stealth. There's a few ways they could change the design of the game that would rein in druids a little bit without like hurting the spec and making their players feel bad.
Yeah, the battle res conversation does come up a little bit in chat about why don't all healers just have battle res, take it off the DPS specs, blah blah blah. It should be only a healer thing. That'd be interesting. That would be an expansion level change, though. We're not gonna say that right now.
I don't know. This is my like. I'm fine with druids having battle res because I want something cool that other classes don't have, right? So as soon as you start giving me things from other classes, like I lose. Well, they already took fist weaving, so I guess they've done that already.
Yeah, I mean, Ring of Peace, that's the only thing that comes directly to mind that you have that no one else has, so.
Yeah, but I mean,
it's one of the, like, they took fist weaving and I said nothing. They took battle res and I said nothing, and then they came for me, sort of thing.
Exactly. Like, oh.
Yeah.
So I'm not a huge fan of like spreading like specifically strong utility like that out, but yeah, I mean, to Dhaubbs' point, like just like, I don't know, we get into this idea of like you need to nerf everything so that it's all in line at the bottom. Like, why not just make everything in line at the top, right? Like, make things overpowered. So I don't know.
Blizzard usually doesn't buff though; they just nerf.
Yeah.
It's very rare that they turn the other way. Usually they cut the head off the Hydra, which then grows more Hydra heads. So
yeah,
in a way, that would be a weird. I mean, that sort of goes back to my jab about Ring of Peace being baseline, or at least leg sweep or Tiger Tail sweep being baseline. Because you have your stun baseline now, which is good. And you can take Ring of Peace, which is also good. So you have a lot of that CC. But that usually isn't enough, I guess, or enough of the reason to bring. And they tried to give Monk the debuff as well. I didn't really do anything though. The debuffs and buffs just make people angry.
Yeah.
How about yeah, here's the question about mana. And I guess the question was ended with, I saw a lot of people call Mistweaver monks monks, like OOM. ONKs.
Yeah, God, this question
well, yeah. What's the issue with mana management or just mana in general for Mistweaver in Mythic Plus? Is that maybe it only does it? Is this like a tyrannical high key question where you're in combat for 4 or 5 plus minutes, or?
It's just it's the function of Mistweavers just generally having, I think, a high cost to their spells, right? So the minute you take somebody who's new to healing on a class and they're casting the wrong spells, you're going to run out of mana because you're going to cast things that you think are doing healing and are not doing healing. So I think generally whenever everybody's like, oh, monks go out of mana really quickly, like they're just all the time. It's a function of the individual playing the class not knowing how to play it. I mean, not to be rude about it, but like it's like you just don't understand what buttons you should push at what point, right? And then the other fact is, like, if you play with a bad group, you will spend more mana to keep everybody alive. So I think it's those two things, right? Is where it's you're either playing badly, which you're never going to admit that you're going to play badly generally. So you're always going to blame it on the spec being potentially like mana hungry or just use a lot of mana. And I think it's those two things, right? You're playing with bad players who take a lot of damage that you need to then spend a lot of mana to heal up, and monks just use a lot of mana to heal. So or their spells cost, a lot relative to other classes. So you can't spam like flash a light on everybody or hit beacon of virtue and like holy shock, everybody's topped like for 2% mana. Like you actually have to spend it. And I think that's the crux of that question is always like you are generally casting the wrong thing. But to give somebody like, for me personally, I hate giving that answer because it's not enough. It's not specific enough for that person to then go make a change, right? So it's like, hey, you're casting the wrong spells, but I don't know what spells you're casting. I just know they're wrong because you're out of mana. So
okay, that's not too bad. I don't know. Did you have anything to add to the mana discussion, Dhaubbs?
Yeah. I mean, it's basically just that. Like, if it's either people people will misdiagnose what they think the problem is, and Anomoly touched on this like pretty well. If you're running with bad groups who are taking a lot of damage, or not even necessarily bad, just like, suboptimal, or people are making mistakes, or people aren't comfortable, or maybe you're not comfortable with the spec and you've got like areas which you can improve on, then you're not going to cast as much mana. Like I have a very hard time empathizing with this, with complaints of like monk being mana hungry in BFA at least, because like I don't really find myself ever running out of mana in Mythic Plus or in Raid. Like maybe on the really really high keys, but at that point you're dropping like fish feats and stuff, and like double drinking and stuff like that. So like if you've got like even a second between combat, you can get your mana back pretty quickly. So it's yeah, and it's really rough to give the answer of you're just casting the wrong spells, but like that it's because it sounds so elitist, but that is it. It's just like a personal play, practice the game, get better at your spec, and also try to help your group get better as well. Because if you're playing with better players, they're going to take less damage and you're going to spend less mana.
I was going to give another shout out here to WoW Analyzer. Because if you need to know if you're hitting the wrong or the right pieces and parts of things, maybe take some logs, upload them to WoW Analyzer, and see what your suggestions might be. This is just the default page. Yeah, see what your info might be. This is just the overview checklist. It gives you a ton of different things about your core abilities, cooldowns, the right tools for the fight, your procs, how everything works, your suggestion page, all this stuff. It gives you a whole lot of things that you can look through. If you think you did like really well on a certain parse or a certain encounter, then go chuck it up into WoW Analyzer and see what it says. Probably give you a lot of extra information that may help you out. I'm curious to see how it works out for DPS specs. If enhancement's not there, I wonder what Havoc's like, because I would be curious to see what I can look at.
It might have something. I don't play DPS, so I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't know. I have the funny part about that is I was, for our Mythic Jaina progression in my guild, we've had a lot of unfortunate IRL MMO issues. Our best is 0.7% on Mythic Jaina the other day. Yikes.
Oh, that's a feels
Yeah,
bad.
it's a
But
rough one.
I started off like 60, 70 pulls as enhancement, and then I swapped to Havoc because we didn't have a Demon Hunter, so I had to apply the debuff, and then that was hundreds of pulls as Havoc, and then all of a sudden, because of the IRL, I had to heal, so I was playing triple Sprouting Spirits Resto Shaman, basically just DPSing all of Phase 1, and just healing in Phase 2, and then, of course, being there for cooldowns in Phase 3, and I did, man, a few nights of progression as Resto, and then we get healer swaps, and then I can go back Havoc again, so it was definitely an interesting few nights of learning how to do that fight as a healer, even though it was mostly just, again, Phase 1 was just put sauce on things and throw meatballs, but it was, I probably could have analyzed myself on the better pulls to double check a few things, because I would kept changing around a couple of different points, and so, no, I wasn't triple IP, I was triple Sprouting Spirits because my 2 Spirit Links in the later phases were super important. That was basically why I was here. Yeah. But I did actually I did the triple IP earlier in progression, but we didn't need the damage. So, because we're a little behind like the huge opening curve of Mythic Jaina right now. So, how about if you couldn't play Mistweaver anymore, what is your healer go-to of choice, Dhaubbs?
Right now, Glimmer Paladin. Whew. That is a fun spec to play. It is wild, dude.
Straight up, woof!
It's so, you never run out of mana. You do all the damage. You do all the healing. It's crazy. I love it. And not only that, but like the window where you're popping your cooldowns. Oh, it feels so good. It feels so good to just blast out shock after shock after shock, and the raid is topped to the whole thing. It's wild.
It is. We haven't had our Holy Paladin raid for a while, so we haven't felt that HPS, but that's funny. Do you echo that anomaly, or would you say something else?
No, I mean, I think not even Glimmer. I think if Glimmer wasn't around, I'd probably still end up playing Paladin. It feels really good. Paladin has always been the spec that's been really good to like hit a button and watch HP bars go up, right? So there's like that instant gratification. So I was a Paladin in whatever was after in Cat, or whatever was after MOP, or before MOP, sorry. So in like Cat, I played Paladin. So I'd probably always go back to Paladin if I couldn't play Mistweaver anymore.
Okay.
Yeah, even without Glimmer being just really fun to hit buttons with. So
there was a question about fist weaving again. We talked a lot and sort of wove that into the first half of the show here and there. So we're not going to bring up fist weaving now, but that was a lot of the earlier part of the show. So you can check that out in the VOD or on YouTube. Just not to slow the show down into that regard. But let's see. Questions in chat. I have a couple more here. How about what is your favorite tank to heal compared to your least favorite tank to heal? Anomaly, you first.
Favorite tank to heal are like the ones that don't take damage. So like, so I don't have to do anything. So like, I don't know. I think generally like warriors are always a good time. I actually like healing monks specifically because it's interesting to play off each other with like CC movement, things like that. So I think between warrior and monk are probably my favorite two to heal. I absolutely dislike blood decays because I always feel like they're going to die and they hit death strike, and I've just like loaded them up and now they're top because of death strike, and then I'm wasting mana. But yeah, I think warriors and monks are probably my favorite. Just for my monk brethren, gotta love healing them. So,
what do you have about you, Dhaubbs? Favorite versus least?
Oh yeah, easy warrior. They just don't take damage. They deal a ton of damage. They're mobile. They're running all over the place. Like, you don't really need to worry about them. So you can focus on dealing damage, which is really nice. I would say my least favorite tank to heal is Vengeance Demon Hunter, but I have never actually healed them this expansion. No one plays that shitty spec. Language actually.
Oh no. They're getting some love on 8.2. The PTR, they've got some love coming, but man, It's
Hey, so I'll be honest with you, I forgot about that spec. Like,
Oh,
I
but-
thought Demon Hunter's just did damage. So when you're like, hey, what tank source? I'm like going to like this one. All right, DKs are bottom. And then I was like, oh, I didn't realize Demon Hunter was a spec.
Yeah, they just no one plays them. They're like
Yeah.
they're in a really rough spot, which is
Ooh.
lame because like I really like tanking on my Demon Hunter. I just don't like being dead all the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, in terms of tank that I actually am able to heal, then DKs are not fun for all the reasons Anomoly listed. It feels really bad to load them up with an enveloping mist or a rem, and then just as you're about to vivify and get the payoff, they blast a death strike and are at full health.
Yeah, it's definitely a different question for every healer, right? So I think other healers might have a different opinion about Death Knights. So we'll have to wait and see how that changes, and we'll have to see how healers change their opinions to Vengeance once 8.2 is here, because they're getting some like neutral game buffs, but I think they're going to keep getting more tweaks. And again, the Essences system, Vengeance is fun to play, and it has a pretty good toolkit. The only problem is usually it's damage reductions. But there's that new Shield Wall DR major essence that's that 40% for 2 and then 20% for 2 on a 45-second cooldown. That paired up with huge parry numbers might see Vengeance fly up the charts. We don't know.
Oh, I hope so. I really, because Vengeance is a lot of fun to play. Like Spirit Bomb, when you hit like a good Spirit Bomb, feels really satisfying.
Yeah. So there'll be a shakeup in the tank meta too. We'll have to wait and see. And that'll, of course, affect raid comps and potentially healer comps, and the healers have their essences coming too. This is why, again, the 8.2 is going to the game. It's going to just all over the place. It's going to be wild. How about, I know there are a couple other questions in chat that I was looking at. There was a question about, like, are Mistweavers considered an AoE healer? I don't know if that's something you want to dabble into. I think it's come up before. I think the Legion show, we talked about how they're a cleave healer, not an AoE healer. But I don't know if that's changed because of Essence Font now. And what's the talent? Upwelling.
Yeah, I'd say we land pretty firm. Well, we're sort of like a jack of all trades, right? Like we're with Essence Font and RJW, we do AoE really, really well. With Vivify, we cleave great, and then with the changes to Soothing Mist, we're great single target healers too. So we kind of do it all whenever we need to.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't. I'm sorry.
Oh no, go ahead, Anomoly. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, with Dhaubbs said, I don't think we're not like excelling at anything, like where we're the best at this part of healing, but at the same time, like I think we can do pretty much any type of healing that's needed, right? In a raid. So we can cover like paladins who are generally considered like tank healers or at least single target healers. We can cover them if you don't have a paladin. We're essentially just very similar to druids in healing style from an AoE perspective. So yeah, we can do it all, which is nice. Too bad.
Yeah.
I think the one thing we don't do well outside of like revival is like big burst healing.
Yeah.
Right.
It's all we line up really, really well with like ticking damage patterns and areas where the raid is under 100% health for quite a bit of time. But I think that's I think that's fine. I don't think that's something that Blizzard needs to address or anything.
Sure. So this is going to be a fist weaving question, but it's more of the, is there a resource or a part of the Peak of Serenity community, maybe in the feedback section, that you guys have been maybe putting together or organizing for, looking at, depends on what 9.0 brings us, because we're not going to see changes right now. Is there a way that you could see fist weaving being brought back to a core part of the Mistweaver Monk? And how would you like reconfigure that back into the game? Is there like a really simple way that you guys have talked about and suggested, just like do this, to that, and there you go? Or would it require a whole lot more overhaul work to bring it back to what it was with Eminence back in the day? I don't know what you guys have thought about that kind of feedback to give to the devs, or you're just kind of just like, I don't know who wants this one.
Yeah, I'll if you want it, I'll or not. I've had some strong thoughts on fist weaving. So if the current talent system stays the way that it is, I think the only like, and if they don't implement like traits that synergize with it, I think the only way that fist weaving is going to be any good at all is if they give us a 4th spec.
Oh
Like,
no, really?
Yeah. Which is never going to happen. I think it would fit thematically with monks in general, you know, like a spec for every celestial. But I think fist weaving is just so different in terms of a play style that trying to make it happen with just a talent or 2 is like really, really rough. So either they just make like 1 talent in each row, delegated as the fist weaving talent. You just go like all right fist weaving, and then Mistweaver suffers because then they have sort of like, well, we only have 2 talent options now or whatever. I think all this could be fixed if, like you mentioned before, if they go ahead and do like a 9.0 like back to vanilla talent system where you can actually spec your spec differently, and you could go more fist weaving or not.
It's an interesting one because druids were the first and only spec in the game now that did get that thematic rework to have 4 specs. But it's a good point that monks could also have 4. They would have 2 healing specs essentially in that regard, but there is 4 big pillars of sort of monk background where you've got Nuzao for Brewmasters and Zhuen for Windwalker, but then Chi-Ji and Yulon are both for Mistweaving. All right.
And so I think it's like, that would be like a great Christmas present if Blizzard were to like give us a 4th spec. I would love that, but I don't think it's going to happen just because I don't think they even really wanted druids to have 4 specs, right? That just sort of was born out of necessity with the talent system change, because prior to that, druid like feral was both tank and DPS, and you would just like change out a couple of talents here and there. One would give you more armor, one would give you damage, yada yada. And then you had like feral druids who were in tank or who were in damage gear, just like able to tank really well, and like or tanks that could do really good damage. Like it was like really weird. So they had to break the specs up like that.
Right. I have another Dhaubbs question, Anomoly. So do you want to add anything to that, or?
No, I mean they could go the way and just bring back stances, right? So that we have our crane stance and our whatever the green one was, the healing stance. I forget the name of it. But again, that just does the same thing Dhaubbs said, is like every talent then has like a green like option, and then your fist weaving option right here. So like, I don't know, it doesn't work. And I think the biggest problem is I think they're just lost in this design space where like they don't want to balance Mistweaver between pure healing and doing damage to heal. Not that they don't want to balance. I think it's just potentially too difficult, right? People hang on this idea that they leave these like talents out there that like point towards like fist weaving might come back, but it's just like one thing that they put out there just to like satiate the masses, whatever that word is.
Right.
So yeah, I don't know. I think it'll require a larger overhaul, and similar to what they did with Disc, right? Is like change the spec to all do damage to convert it to healing, or just remove that, right? And at this point, to be honest with you, the way they're going is I bet you they end up removing it, which sucks. But I mean, I don't think they can pull it back at this point without to Dhaubbs' point, a larger overhaul. And I don't know if it's a 9.0 overhaul, but it's maybe a 4 spec overhaul. Maybe it's a get rid of, go all in on the damage to healing conversion, right? But yeah, I think it's more than just a couple of talents or giving us like one trait, right? It's definitely a larger thing. So I think, I mean, for 8.2 and beyond at this point, I think fist weaving in a competitive sense and like something you'll play on progression is probably dead.
Gotcha.
Hopefully I'm wrong, but like, yeah, it sucks that it's a lot of fun to play, but at the same time does, like, to Dhaubbs' point, like 10% less healing than if you just brain dead hit Essence Font on cooldown.
Yeah, that's the other problem. It's less healing for way more work. Like in order to fist weave properly, like it takes a lot of your brain. Like
So here's the next section that we bring up, and it'll curtail right into that. And I'm gonna slap up the talent calculator right now. And before we get into sort of like what is the sort of standard build you guys have rolling right now, this is the there's like only 2 traits really that work with fist weaving, I guess, to make it like a fist weaving build, which is the new one, Rising Mist, and of course Beard of the Crane, which is mana regen, right, whatever. But Rising Mist.
So real quick, Bay, just on that one. So Spirit of the Crane, you could play whatever you want on that row if you fist weave, because like you don't use mana.
Right. Oh, well, fair enough.
So like, yeah, I mean, Spirit of the Crane's nice, but like the only one's Rising Mist.
There you go. But so Rising Mist was this new one added, I think it was kind of late in the BFA beta cycle, where so RSK will heal all allies with your Renewing Mist, Enveloping Mist, or Essence Font for 15% spell power, and extends those effects by 2 seconds. And barring any haste interactions and how many more ticks you'll get out of all of them, right? Blah, blah, blah. And this was, this is kind of neat. Will this bring back this more offensive melee focus, throw up a lot of hots and then keep kicking the boss kind of a deal? It does, of course, compete with Focused Thunder, so you can't just kick twice in a row. You get the regular oriented cooldown, but you can still Thunder Focus T and Rising Sun kick, but is it just 15% spell power? When I first saw that, seemed really weak. And is that sort of where it sits? Is the I don't know. Bleh.
So we had really high hopes for this ability, and it was testing like really well on beta fights. Like you were doing like the same amount of healing with Rising Mist's Upwelling, and then on top of that doing like more damage than a Disc Priest. So like Monk was looking wild to fist weave, and then they nerfed that talent by 25%, and it was like, okay, well, unlucky.
They nerfed the Rising Mist heal or the extension of the hots, or okay.
They nerfed the spell power by 25%.
Oh, goodness! What did it used to be?
It was just 20, but like they took,
so
not like. It wasn't like, like 40% spell power or whatever. It was It was just 20.
That's interesting. This is why I think this talent style is dead in 9.0. But regardless of this, what is the Dhaubbs? Do you want to walk me through like what the standard-ish looking solid build or any talents to stay away from are right now for Mistweaver? What have you guys figured out?
So the only talents you want to like really stay away from are Chi Wave, Song of Chi-Ji, and Tiger Tail Sweep, obviously, and then Healing Elixir. Everything else kind of you can work, but all those talents, Chick, you will never take them for any reason. Okay, and this is speaking purely from a PvE perspective. I know Healing Elixir has some uses in PvP or whatever, but
right.
In terms of PvE. Generally, the builds that you would want to go for like an all-around sort of general Mistweaver would be like Chi Burst, and then either Tiger's Lust or Chi Torpedo, whichever you prefer, then Manatee, Ring of Peace, Diffuse Magic, Russian Jadewind normally, because like most of the hard fights require it, and then Upwelling. And if you're finding that you need to tank heal more often, you would swap out Chi Burst for Mistwrap, Manatee for Life Cycles maybe. Again, it would depend on like damage patterns, and then Refreshing Jadewind for Jade Statue. I think there's actually like, as opposed to Legion, there's actually like a lot of choices you can make in your talents in this expansion, which feels really nice. Like, I'm finding myself having to think like, well, is RJW going to be as much healing as Jade Statue in this fight? Or even if it's doing less healing, is the healing is doing like more important? Like, so I'm satisfied with where our talents are right now.
Can I still play Focus Thunder on my noob monk? Because I think Focus Thunder is hilariously fun. But that may have been also because of the pants in Legion that made it real stupid.
Yeah, Focus Thunder's like really good in Mythic Plus for sure, and you can get away with it in raids too.
Fair enough. Did he all those correct, Mr. Guide Writer Anomoly? All the stuff you guys have worked out. Did he misspeak, or are we good?
No, it's all good, all good. The Ice Veins guide that Dhaubbs also writes would say the same thing, and that would be correct.
Oh, yup. Shout out to Icy Veins. Head there. Turn off ad block, please.
That's a slight follow-up question to that one, is that with Garg stepping away, he wrote the Wowhead guide. Are you going to take up both guides then? Because a lot of guide writers now are basically on both sites and they sort of mirror everything so that there's no more like, well, Icy Vein says that. Well, Wowhead says this, right? Are you gonna...
I actually don't know if I can talk about this on stream.
Oh, okay. That's fine too. If it's a businessy thing, that's all right.
Yeah, I'm not. I need to read my contract, so like I don't want to say anything.
That's fair. Because that's a weird. Because like, well, I know. I think Word Up writes a bunch for both, so that's why I was curious. Depending on different guide writers write for for both of them. They have different formulas and layouts and things. I didn't know how that worked. I have no idea how that back and forth competitive, non-competitive agreement works up. So,
I mean, Dhaubbs and I have our duel in about 3 days for the Wowhead guide. Actually, I can announce that. So,
what kind of duel would you have? Like, is this like a heal Mythic Jaina, best log efficiency, lowest overhealing, best revival snipe? What do you guys? How do you?
no. I mean, I'm terrible at healing, so like we're gonna play golf with friends and
yeah.
So
yeah, we're going all random ball shape, and I'm gonna get crunch ball, and I'm gonna lose.
Oh, so good.
Oh.
Oh yeah. By the way, this is a World of Warcraft show.
Yeah.
My bad.
Oh man, that's pretty good. I like that. Oh god, that's pretty good. Okay, then I guess one of the last little funny questions we can bring up. What are up with those blobs by Dhaubbs, sir?
Oh, right. Okay, so so about a year ago, I got Nitro for a little bit, and then I stopped using it because it's an expense I can't super justify.
Sure.
But I really liked using the Google blob emotes in Discord. I wanted them so bad. So I figured that the only way that I could justify adding blobs to Peak would be if I redesigned them in a monk theme. So I made all these blobs for Peak of Serenity. And the really sad part about that is I liked the blobs so much that I went and bought Nitro anyway because I wanted to use them in other servers. So I made them to dodge Nitro and just got Nitro because of them.
How many have you made right now, by the way? You said you're 24 or so? Are you making more or?
Yeah, I think 24 or something. I can't remember.
Because you have the Yulon green style ones, but you also have the corrupted ones essentially.
We got Yulon, we got Nizao, and Chiji, and Zwen. I really like the Zwen ones I like some of the Zwen ones. I really like most of the Nizao ones because I just think the little guy's cute. He's a little cute.
Oh, you do have all four. Yeah, you do. I'm looking at them now. Yeah, the blue, the green, the red, and the black. Yeah. Oh, one's animated. I think only one has animation. Yeah. No, they're pretty good. If you're not in the Peak of Serenity Discord and you don't have these, then you should go. I think actually, is that almost all the Peak of Serenity emotes are just the blobs? Almost.
Yeah, most of them. We started removing old emotes to make room for them.
For the blobs. Okay, I mean, fair enough. I like that. Yep. A couple of them have been popping up in chat. I guess you have some of them on your Twitch channel as well.
Oh yeah. I'm using the I gotta spam the $25 emote to flex on people. Oh, there's MJ with it.
Yep. That is pretty good. But I don't know if there's anything. I think now that you've thrown down the Golf with Friends gauntlet, make sure your Discord and Peak of Serenity has that publicized and people know about where to find this and watch this if you're going to stream it, because this needs to be a thing. Don't back out now. If you do, the internet will haze you.
Oh God! Now I actually have to schedule this.
There you go. There you go. I mean, hey, you brought it up on my show. You got to make sure now it's stamped and it's going to happen. Give it a date. Get some commentators. You know,
that'll be good.
That should be pretty funny. But that's all I've got. from the main show. There was a big conversation going on back and forth in chat, but I don't think that's something that pertains to us specifically. And Fatal Bones' question, I'm pretty sure is a troll, but how often do you use Essence Font, and how good is it in raids?
It is 100% a troll, and I use it all the time, and it's very good.
There you go.
Just slam it.
Just slam it. How about, so closing shoutouts and remarks, soapbox time. And Anomoly, what do you got? Do you have anything you want to, wondrous bits of wisdom, anything you'd like to rant about, or give any closing comments on before we get out of here?
I mean, yeah, bring back Chi. Head out to Peak Attorney Discord. If you guys have questions, most of the people there are super helpful. Some of them are not, but most of them are good. WoW Analyzer is a great tool to automate analyzing your logs. If you're a little embarrassed about a parse or something, throw it in there. The tool doesn't judge, just gives answers. Shout out to my guild, I guess. Is this shout outs too? Shout out to my guild,
Yeah.
Decidedly Uncouth. Over on Mal'Ganis, I think we're recruiting. We're probably recruiting. Somebody's recruiting.
There it is.
Come join us. We 2 days a week. We're pretty good. And then shout outs to, I guess, yeah, everybody else in Peak. Abe, who's actually Abe helping out with WoW Analyzer, super helpful. That's pretty much it.
Wait, is it Abe? Is that how you actually pronounce his name?
Yeah, that's how you do it.
Oh no, I've been calling him Abe for like 8 years.
No, just Abe.
Oh boy. Uh-oh, I gotta go.
Uh-oh. Dhaubbs, how about you, sir?
Oh boy. Okay, so I got a lot of shout outs because people are trolling me. Okay, so shout out to Abe, Typhus, Labs, Brutal Burst, Sniffle. Oh boy, I'm forgetting people.
I hear like the scrolling in the mouse wheel in the background.
Shout out to the squad, to Blue Square. Another shout out to my best boy Onion, and just everyone in Peak in general. If you need help with anything, like Anam said, like the people there really like to help. Check out if you want more resources to learn how to be a better Mistweaver. Check out my guide on icyveins.com. And if you like that content, like I sort of jokingly said before, please consider whitelisting us. It really, really helps. Shout out to my guild, Big Dumb Guild. We're still progressing on Unot, so good luck to us. I think that's it. Boy, I know I'm going to remember something right after this, and I'm going to be really upset about it. But yeah, thanks for having me on.
Of course. I mean, I have to. This is the one thing, and this is not a slight to. You got what else you got?
I 100% forgot. Thanks to my wonderful girlfriend MJ for supporting me through all the stupid shit that I do. So, dodged a big bullet there.
I was gonna ping you about that one. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh God, I gotta go.
I feel like this is a lot of moments that now are not captured because you don't have a camera. So next time we get a show and you're on it, Dhaubbs.
Okay, 100%. I'll get a camera.
Let's do that. So you're not just a floating blood elf. You're not even a blood elf anymore. What is this?
Yeah, well, I am a blood elf. I went back blood elf from for Prague.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough.
This Arcane Torrent's too good.
A little bit. A little bit. I'm using it on Janex. I'm a demon hunter, and it's like, whatever. Maybe it's a different thing for healers. But for me, it's like, but that's it. That's all we got. I already went over the show is coming up in the future, but that's going to do it. I'm going to hit this button over here that signifies that the show is now closing. So thank you all very much for tuning in today to episode number 187 of Final Boss TV for the Mistweaver Monks. And we've got many shows in the future here. We've got Elemental Shamans, the Storm Spaghetti Chefs next week. We've got Feral Druids, Kitty Cats are for Fight. The week after that, the last Sunday of this month, will probably be no show because I may be doing my PC build at the time. And then more and more and more and more. To take a whole year to get through all the spec shows. We got 8.2 on the horizon. We got the next raid coming out. We'll definitely talk about the Elemental Shaman Madness on their show with Unot and how they pump, because Kano is going to be here with Sham. And we'll go from there. So if you have any questions, of course, hit me up on Twitter. in Discord as well. You can submit questions for the upcoming show. This is one of the big reasons why I even made a Discord server in the first place. Links are all down below. Back around the corner here, we had Anomoly. You can follow him over on the Twitter as well. It's Anom_MW. Bringing the production value today, sir. I appreciate it. Thank you very much for your time today. This is where you.
Thank you. That's where I say something. Oh my God! Thank you. Thanks for having me.
That's where you said. No, you got to go. Just like Dhaubbs has to go. Oh goodness. And then there's Dhaubbs, who may or may not be on the couch tonight. So you can go check him out on Twitter at Dhaubbs to see if he is cold on the couch with no blankets. Are you gonna be okay tonight, sir?
No, but that's for other reasons. Also, real quick shout out to Fatal Bones. I love that boy.
Oh no, you say it for the very end. Don't do it.
Got him.
There it is. Well, thank you very much for your time again, sir. As always. But that's
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Elmo Shaman, Feral Druid, probably Sunday off. Let me know if you have any questions. Again, big shout out. My big shout out to all those that are supporting the show, the stream, and everything in between, and those that are clicking on and getting those parts and pieces for their next build via Corsair. I'm doing a huge build I've been talking to my Discord about right now to finally go to the whole 2 PC setup, and so much of it is Corsair. It's ridiculous. I've been trusting them for years, and now it's awesome to work together with them. Go check out the links down below if you want to support what I do here and pick yourself up a new mouse. The Iron Claw RGB is up here right now, but they... No. We gotta do this live. Hold on. Mice? Corsair. Where is it? This? The new Glaive Pro? This? That's what I'm getting. I hold my entire mouse with my hand, and that adjustable thumb pads, let's go. I'm looking at that. But we'll see y'all here next week. Thank you very much for tuning in. You have a great night. Have a great morning, whoever comes first. Of course, trust in your... Where's my transition? Trust in your bonus rolls, I guess, even though... I don't know, what's loot in the game right now? It's kind of boring, but all the essences in the future are going to be, you can farm them. But that's it for me. Thank you everyone for watching, and bye. Wait, there it is, bye. Bye everybody. Bye, wave Anomoly. Dhaubbs can't wave because he's on the couch. You got to wave for him.
Bye-bye.
2 hands.
I like it.